Hello everyone. So we are continuing with our discussions on the text readings on Kerala, and we are going to work on Ghoshayatra by Kunchan Nambiar today. Ghoshayatra by Kunchan Nambiar. I'm very sure you must have heard the name of Kunchan Nambiar. He is one of the triumvirates of Malayalam literature along with Eഴുത്തച്ഛൻ and Cherisheri. And he's also very popular for having founded the new art form of Ottantullal. I'm very sure that you must have seen the performance of Ottantullal probably on television or during some other cultural event. And at least a glimpse of it you must have seen. So Kunchan Nambiar is the one who created this sort of an art form. Ottantullal, of course, as you know, is a satirical art form. That is, it makes fun, or it draws a very critical and humorous picture of the society through the performance. It's a musical, song-based, performative art form. And there is a very interesting story behind Tullal, that it was actually, uh, we don't know whether this story is true, that Kunchan Nambiar was actually a Miravu player. Miravu is an instrument which used to be played along with the Chakyar Kuthu. And when a Chakyar Kuthu performance, Chakyar Kuthu is also a similar art form which uses satire. Which is it is also a satirical art form. While a performance of Chakyar Kuthu was happening, Kunchan Nambiar was supposed to play the Miravu, and he slept off the Miravu, and the Chakyar actually made fun of him in front of the audience. You already know that Chakyar Kuthu does make fun of people, and he felt very insulted. It is this incident that prompted Kunchan Nambiar to create an art form like Tullal. Tullal is actually inspired from multiple art forms like Padayani, Kolam Tullal, and also other many folk art forms. We don't really know whether this backstory is actually true, but the process that happened here is actually very significant because uh, Kuthu or Chakyar Kuthu as an art form had many elements which are not that easily comprehensible for ordinary people. Uh, it had certain linguistic and performative aspects which were not that easy for the general public to grasp completely. So, what happened in Ottantullal was actually a complete transition where everything was, presented in very simple and ordinary Malayalam, which is so easily understandable for everybody. So that's it's a kind of a democratization of art that is probably being done by Kunchan Nambiar. Now, this episode is also probably that kind of a song, which is supposed to be performed along with Ottantullal, and both in Chakyar Kuthu and Ottantullal, what happens is that though it uses the audience as in order to create humor, in order to tease them, in order to make fun of them. Humor is created through making fun of the audience. Though that thing is there, there is always a background story which is actually taken from some kind of a mythological tale or a Purana like Ramayana or Mahabharata. So a story will be presented. That story will act as a backdrop of the performance, which will be used to discuss many contemporary issues or to make fun of the audience, etc. So that's the basic idea. Just like you use crowdsourcing in a stand-up comedy performance these days, uh, contemporary issues are discussed, but this difference is there, that there is a backdrop which will be some kind of a mythical or a kind of a legend story. Right. So this here, the context of this particular piece of writing, Ghoshayatra, is actually very interesting. It has been inspired from the Mahabharata. Now, you already know who are the two, what to say, sects of people who in the Mahabharata, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. The Kauravas were led by Duryodhana, and Pandavas were led by Yudhishthira. And what happened was Yudhishthira and Duryodhana, played a game of dice, and Yudhishthira actually kept on pawning. First, their kingdom was pawned, and then they kept on pawning, and eventually, what happened was they had to leave their kingdom and live in exile for 14 years. 14 years they had to live in the forest. And the first 13 years they had to spend in the forest, and the last year was supposed to be lived in anonymity. They had to, secretly live in a place without revealing that they were actually the Pandavas. So They were spending this last year at Dvaidavanam, a place called Dvaidavanam, where actually many rishis and farmers and all resided. So when they were residing in Dvaidavanam, of course, Duryodhana is full of vengeance and spite and jealousy. So Duryodhana actually wanted to get this pleasure of knowing that the Pandavas are actually suffering there in the Dvaitavana. So what he does is he sends a messenger to check on them. What is their condition? How are they doing? So his hopes were that the messenger would come back and tell him that the Pandavas are in a really pathetic condition. They are suffering a lot. And Yudhishthira could actually take a lot of pleasure from it. That was the intention behind sending a messenger. But what happens is that the messenger comes back and says that the Pandavas are living, having the time of their lives by the blessings of their gurus, and of course their protector is Lord Vishnu himself. So by the blessings of Lord Vishnu, who's called the foe of Inferno. Foe of Inferno means the enemy of hell, the enemy of hell, which is a kind of a phrase used to describe Lord Vishnu. So by the blessings of Lord Vishnu, our Pandavas are actually very comfortable and happy, and all your plans and deceits, that nothing has actually affected them at all. That's what the messenger reports. So Yudhishthira is actually very, angry hearing this, because and he wanted to hear bad news about the Pandavas, but he's come with all positive and happy news. So Duryodhana is actually very disturbed. So he vents out this anger on the messenger, on this spy whom he has sent. He says that when you're sent to do something, when you're sent on a mission, you're supposed to do only that. You don't have to come and praise the Pandavas in front of me, and you eat from you eat the meal that I provide, and you say good things about the Pandavas. So you better go and join with the Pandavas. You can go and live with them, eat whatever berries or fruits that they fetch from the forest, and you can live with them. Because I don't want friends who talk good about my enemies. So enemies are better. These people who tell that they are actually your friends and say good things about the enemies, they're worse. So enemies are actually better. So it's a very funny episode, and the after this conversation, it is said that a kind of a Ghoshayatra, a kind of a celebratory procession was actually conducted by the Kauravas near to the place where the Pandavas were living, so that they could actually showcase the kind of luxury and the pomposity that they were enjoying, in order to make the Pandavas jealous. So that is how this title Ghoshayatra comes. And Ghosha actually means these pastoral lands where they were heading. This is the basic context of the work. I'll quickly read through the work. It's a very easy work. You will understand it very easily. Hear, O brave, hear. So, O brave Duryodhana, hear. Hear and thus have peace of mind. So, hear what I have to say. The messenger comes and says, hear what I have to say, and probably you will have peace of mind after that. Those adorned with the blessings of the Gurus. So, those who have been blessed so well by the Gurus, they are blessed for life. Despair touches them not. They are blessed for all their lives, and sadness or difficulties, they don't touch them at all. They're very happy. O king, here. Merrily live the Pandavas. Pandavas are living so happily, even in the depths of the forest, without an inkling of sorrow, without even a droplet of sorrow. Along with the benign sages, along with the benevolent sages who live there, they are living a very comfortable life. Calmly do they dwell in the Dvaita woods. So they live a very calm and quiet life in the Dvaita woods. Hear, O king. No deceit of yours, no treachery, or no plans of yours have succeeded, have affected or touched them. Nothing that you did actually has even touched them. The refuge being the feet of the benevolent foe of Inferno, because their refuge, or they rely on the feet of the benevolent foe of Inferno. Benevolent foe of Inferno, which means that, which refers to Lord Vishnu. Foe of Inferno, the enemy of hell, which is a reference to Lord Vishnu. And here also it sounds like a kind of an oxymoron, foe of Inferno. So these are both negative words, but they actually mean Lord Vishnu. So it could be an oxymoron. It could also be a kind of an assonance, because four of inferno, the or sound keeps repeating. So it could be also an example of assonance, because the vowel sound is repeating. Yes. So he says that the messenger comes and says that they're untouched, they're very happy, they have the blessings of the gurus and Lord Vishnu, so they live a very comfortable life. So Yudhishthira responds, when sent on a mission, limit yourself to that. When I send you on a mission, when I ask you to do something, just do that much. Don't go beyond that. Do nothing more. Hey, you brute of a man. So he's angry at this messenger. Try not to fool me slyly. Don't think that you can fool me that easily. Side with the able Pandavas, you really must. If you're talking so nicely about the Pandavas, you should actually go and side with the Pandavas itself. The one who dines from my feast. So you eat from my feast, the food that I provide, and dares to ally himself with my foes. He dares to befriend or say good things about my enemies, my foes, and pontificate brazenly and without any inhibition continue talking about or opening up about uh, on my vices and their virtues. So you keep, without any inhibition, you keep continue talking about my vices, my bad qualities and their virtues, their goodness, and my you talk about my negatives and their positives. Happily, you should go over to them. You should happily go over to them and sustain yourself on the berries and fruits. And whatever berries and fruits that they give you, you better live on that. You don't deserve a place in my kingdom. For enemies prove useful than allies. Enemies are actually better than friends who are gently generous to the enemies, who have slight inclination to the enemies. So enemies are better than friends who have an inclination towards the enemy. That's what Yudhishthira. Sorry, not Yudhishthira. These names keep on being mistaken. So Duryodhana says. So that's a kind of interesting, humorous episode, which Kunchan Nambiar presents through Ghoshayatra. This actually is used as a kind of a satire. Probably this backdrop story will be being used to comment on some kind of a social condition which is actually there at that time. For instance, it has been used as a critique of the group of Nair soldiers who were there at that time. Similarly, any social scenario which is there, these stories are used in order to criticize them, their jealousy or the kind of stupid, power, the lust for power of people, the vengeance between people. All these things are made fun of, a kind of an idea of the immaturity of people can be seen to be presented in a very humorous way. So it's a very probably this is there in the syllabus in order to remind us of a tradition of satire which originated in Kerala and which has been one of the most popular satirical art forms, or a very democratic satirical art form. So with that, I'll conclude Ghoshayatra. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.